Welcome to Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. Today I am on location in the beautiful town of Blairsville, Georgia. I'm in Georgia visiting my buddy Jordan and his parents, Mike and Jan, have a nice piece of property up in Blairsville. And what we're going to show you how to do today is do a brake fluid flush on a 2019 Toyota Highlander. It's kind of a grocery getter, kind of soccer mom kind of vehicle. But since it's an all-wheel drive, I guess it does fit in with the type of vehicles Sean and I work on, which is Toyota, Lexus, SUVs, and trucks. We've got the vehicle jacked up and supported on jack stands to give us extra room to work. I will show you the jacking points and the places where we put the jack stands. So if you want to do that also to give yourself a little bit more room to work while you're doing this procedure. So let's get underneath the vehicle and I'll show you those locations. On the front of the vehicle, right at the back side of the plastic skid plate, you have a cutout, and that's your jack point for your hydraulic jack to jack up the front end equally. And next I'll show you where we put the jack stands on the pinch welds on the front of the vehicle. Right behind the front wheels, you'll see the pinch weld, and there's a little cutout on either side of the point where you want to put your jack stand. So those little cutouts are your visual indicator of where you put your jack stand. Now we'll go to the rear. On the rear, you have this cross member where the control arms connect to, and there's a round knob right in the center, and that's your lift point to be able to lift up the rear equally. And now I'll show you where we put the jacks to support the rear of the vehicle. Right in front of the rear tires on the pinch weld, again, you're going to see the little cutout on the pinch weld letting you know where you're supposed to put the jack. Inside the engine compartment on the driver's side, you have the reservoir for the master cylinder, and then back there is the actual master cylinder against the firewall. It plugs right into the brake booster. The reason why they have the reservoir out here is because you can't really get to it over there. So they have a fill hose that runs back to the master cylinder. For the procedure, it's generally best practice to start at the wheel furthest away from the master cylinder, which would be the passenger rear. So we'll flush out the passenger rear, we'll jump over to the driver rear, then we'll go to the passenger front and finish at the driver front. And we're just gonna run a lot of brake fluid through the bleeding process until we start seeing clear brake fluid coming through the drain hose, and then we'll move on to the next one. One of the very important things you want to make sure you do while you're doing this process is you don't drain the fluid too low to where you introduce air into the master cylinder, because then you're going to create a hell of a lot more work for yourself, because now you're going to have to bench bleed the master cylinder. So while you're doing this process, regularly come back to the reservoir and top it off. Don't let it go dry.
All right, so we're on the rear passenger side and we're gonna bleed this caliper. So there's a nice rubber cover over the bleeder. Pull that off.
Now you can see the bleeder, okay.
It's a 10 millimeter.
So Jordan is using a 10 millimeter offset wrench on the bleed nipple, and then he has a 7/32 clear hose connected to the bleed nipple that runs down to a plastic catch container. He uses an old isopropyl alcohol container that he drilled a hole into the cap, and so it's a nice little catch container for the used brake fluid. So here's the procedure we're gonna do. Mike is in the driver's seat. He's gonna pump the pedal and hold it. And then Jordan's gonna crack open the bleeder. There's gonna be a flow of brake fluid through the drain tube. And then he's gonna close it off and let Mike know to pump up the pedal again. What Mike has to be careful about is not lifting up the pedal before Jordan tells him to start pumping it up again. So when Jordan cracks the bleeder, the pedal is going to travel to the floor, and Mike is going to hold it there until Jordan tells him to pump it up again, because there is a chance that air can be sucked into the caliper if Mike lifts up the brake pedal while Jordan has the bleeder cracked. So that's going to be our procedure.
All right, pump it up, Dad.
Okay.
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 What color is it?
Clear.
Okay. One more, I'd say.
All right. Feel like that's enough?
I think so.
So we didn't show all of it, but we did it about 10 times. 10 times per corner, I think, gets plenty of fluid through.
We're going to do the same bleeding procedure at the driver's side rear, and then I'll show you an example at the front wheel calipers. We're done bleeding the rear brakes. Now we're going to work on the front. We're at the passenger front, and we're going to turn the wheels all the way to the right to give us a little bit more access to the caliper. So you can see the bleeder nipple right there at the tip of my finger. You just got to take the little rubber cover off and do the same procedure we did on the rear.
Oh, I wonder if that's going to be a different size. It's 10.
Oh, it's probably an 8.
Yeah.
The bleed nipples on the back calipers were a 10 millimeter, but on the fronts, they're an 8 millimeter.
Actually, I got so much room to swing. I'm just going to use this long boy. Okay. Did anybody check the level?
It's good.
Hey. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
What color is it?
Clear.
Do two more.
Okay. You holding?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Uno mas. Holding. There we go.
All right.
Okay, and we're just going to do the same at the driver front. When you get to the driver front, turn the wheels all the way to the left, and then that will give you a lot more access to the brake caliper bleed nipple. When you're done with your brake flush, don't forget to top off your master cylinder to the max line right there. All right, we're all done with the brake fluid flush. As you saw, it's pretty straightforward. It's not that hard to accomplish. Brake fluid, just like any automotive fluid, gets old and it needs to be renewed. So just like renewing your engine oil, transmission fluid, differential, transfer case, gear oils, you want to regularly service your brake fluid so it stays in good shape. Brake fluid is a hygroscopic fluid, meaning it will attract water into it. So to keep your braking system in optimal shape, you want to renew the brake fluid at certain intervals. What do you think, 100,000?
Every few years, that's what I'd say.
Every few years, or maybe every 60,000, 100,000 miles. I don't know what the correct interval is, but if it starts to look kind of dark, it's probably time to replace it. So it is beer 30. I'm drinking a nice new Belgian beer, honey orange triple. It's pretty damn good. And there it is there. We thank you for watching Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean, and special guests Jordan and Mike. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Peace out. Happy ranching. Bye-bye.